Guys, welcome back to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And today we're going to be starting with chapter 7, which is Charlie's birthday. Remember that 2 of the 5 golden tickets have been found, and Charlie is hoping that he will get one on his birthday because he gets 1 candy bar a year, unlike other kids who get tons of candy bars. So here we go. Chapter 7, Charlie's birthday. Happy birthday! Cried the 4 old grandparents as Charlie came into their room early the next morning. Charlie smiled nervously and sat down on the edge of the bed. He was holding his present, his only present, very carefully in his 2 hands. Wonka's Whipple Scrumptious Fudge Mellow Delight, it said on the wrapper. The 4 old people, 2 at either end of the bed, propped themselves up on their pillows and stared with anxious eyes at the candy bar in Charlie's hands. Mr. and Mrs. Bucket came in and stood at the foot of the bed watching Charlie. The room became quiet. Everybody was waiting now for Charlie to start opening his present. Charlie looked down at the candy bar. He ran his fingers slowly back and forth along the length of it, stroking it lovingly, and the shiny paper made little sharp crackly noises in the room. Then Mrs. Bucket said gently, "You mustn't be too disappointed, dear, if you don't find exactly what you're looking for under the wrapper. You really can't expect to be lucky like that." "She's quite right," Mr. Bucket said. Charlie didn't say anything. "After all," Grandma Josephine said, "in the whole wide world there are only 3 tickets left to be found." "A thing to remember," Grandma Georgina said, "is that whatever happens, you still have the bar of candy." "Wonka's Whipple Scrumptious Fudge Mellow Delight," cried Grandpa George. "It's the best of them all. You'll just love it." "Yes," Charlie whispered. "I know." "Just forget about all those golden tickets and enjoy the candy," Grandpa Joe said. "Why don't you do that?" They all knew it was ridiculous to expect this one poor little candy bar to have a magic ticket inside it, and they were trying as gently and as kindly as they could to prepare Charlie for the disappointment. But there was another thing that all the grown-ups also knew, and it was this: that however small the chance might be of striking lucky, the chance was there. The chance had to be there. This particular candy bar had as much chance as any other one of having the golden ticket. And that was why all the grandparents and parents in the room were actually just as tense and excited as Charlie was, although they were pretending to be very calm. Can you hear that noise outside? There's somebody out there trimming the grass really close to my house, so if you can hear that, I'm sorry. "You'd better go ahead and open it up or you'll be late for school," Grandpa Joe said. "You might as well get it over with," Grandpa George said. "Open it, my dear," Grandma Georgina said. "Please open it. You're making me very jumpy." Very slowly, Charlie's fingers began to tear open the small corner of the wrapping paper. The old people on the bed all leaned forward, craning, that means like stretching out, their saggy necks. Then suddenly, as though he couldn't bear the suspense any longer, Charlie tore the wrapper right down the middle, and on his lap there fell a light brown, creamy-colored chocolate candy bar. There was no sign of a golden ticket anywhere. "Well, that's that," said Grandpa Joe brightly. "It's just what we expected." Charlie looked up. 4 kind faces were watching him intently from the bed. He smiled at them, a sad, small smile, and then shrugged his shoulders and picked up the candy bar and held it out to his mother and said, "Here, Mother, have a bit. We'll share it. I want everybody to taste it." "Certainly not," said his mother, and all the others cried, "No, no, no, we wouldn't dream of it. It's all yours." "Please," begged Charlie, turning around and offering it to Grandpa Joe, but neither he nor anyone else would take even a tiny bite. "It's time to go to school, my darling," Mrs. Bucket said, putting an arm around Charlie's skinny shoulders. "Come on, or you'll be late." Chapter 8. 2 more golden tickets found. Oh, first I got to show you the picture. Charlie opening his candy bar. See the grandparents on either side. Chapter 8. 2 more golden tickets found. That evening, Mr. Bucket's newspaper announced the finding of not only the 3rd golden ticket, but also the 4th. "2 golden tickets were found today," screamed the headlines. "Only 1 more left." "All right," said Grandpa Joe when the whole family was gathered in the old people's room after supper. "Let's hear who found them." "The 3rd ticket," read Mr. Bucket, holding up the newspaper close to his face because his eyes were terrible, but he couldn't afford any glasses. "The 3rd ticket was found by a Miss Violet Beauregard. There was great excitement in the Beauregard household when our reporter arrived to interview the lucky young lady. Cameras were clicking, and flashbulbs were flashing, and people were pushing and jostling and trying to get a bit closer to the famous girl. And the famous girl was standing on a chair in the living room, waving the golden ticket madly as though she were flagging a taxi down. She was talking very fast and very loudly to everyone, but it was not easy to hear all that she said because she was chewing so ferociously on a piece of gum at the same time. "I'm a gum chewer," normally she shouted, "but when I heard about these tickets of Mr. Wonka's, I laid off the gum and switched to candy bars in the hope of striking lucky. Now, of course, I'm right back on gum. I just adore gum. I can't do without it. I munch all day, except for a few minutes at mealtimes when I take it out and stick it behind my ear for safekeeping. To tell you the honest truth, I simply wouldn't feel comfortable if I didn't have that little wedge of gum to chew on every moment of the day. I really wouldn't. My mother says it's not ladylike, and it looks so ugly to see a girl's jaws going up and down like mine do all the time, but I don't agree. And who is she to criticize? Because if you ask me, I'd say that her jaws are going up and down as mine, almost as much as mine, just from yelling at me all the time." "Now, Violet," Mrs. Beauregard said from a far corner of the room, where she was standing on the piano to avoid being trampled by the mob. "All right, Mother, keep your hair on," Miss Beauregard shouted. "And now," she went on, turning to the reporters again, "it may interest you to know that this piece of gum I've been chewing on right here at this moment is one I've been working on for over 3 months solid. That's a record. Yes, it is. I've beaten the record held by my best friend, Miss Cornelia Prince Muscle. Sorry, Prince Metal. And she was mad. It's my most treasured possession now, this piece of gum. 3 months I've been chewing it. At nights I just stick it on the end of the bedpost, and it's good as ever in the morning. A bit hard at first, maybe, but as soon as it softens up again, after I've given it a few good chews. Before I start chewing for the world record, I need to change my piece of gum once a day. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna read that again. Before I started chewing for the world record, I used to change my gum once a day. I used to do it in our elevator on the way home. Why the elevator? Because I liked sticking the gooey piece that I just finished onto one of the elevator buttons. And then the next person who came along and pressed the button got my old gum on the end of his finger. And what a racket that kicked up, some of them. You get the best results with women who have expensive gloves on. Oh, yes, I'm thrilled to be going to Mr. Wonka's factory. And I understand that afterwards, he's going to give me enough gum to last me my whole life. Whoopee! Hooray! Ugh, beastly girl, said Grandma Josephine. Despicable, said Grandma Georgina. She'll come to a sticky end one day, chewing all that gum. You see if she doesn't. And who got the fourth golden ticket, Daddy? Charlie asked. Now let me see, said Mr. Bucket, peering at the newspaper. Ah, yes, here we are. The fourth golden ticket, he read, was found by a boy called Mike TV. Another bad lot, I'm bound, muttered Grandma Josephine. Don't interrupt, Grandma, said Mrs. Bucket. The TV household, said Mr. Bucket, going on with the reading of the newspaper, was crammed like all others with excited visitors when our reporter arrived. But young Mike TV, the lucky winner, seemed extremely annoyed by the whole business. Can't you fools see that I'm watching television? He said angrily. I wish you wouldn't interrupt me. The 9-year-old boy was seated before an enormous television set with his eyes glued to the screen. That is not a true statement. That is a metaphor, right? Eyes glued to the screen. He was watching a film in which one bunch of gangsters was shooting up another bunch of gangsters with machine guns. Mike TV himself had no less than 18 toy pistols of various sizes hanging from belts all around his body. And every now and again, he would leap up into the air, fire off a dozen rounds for one of these pretend weapons. Here's a picture of him. Quiet, he shouted when someone tried to ask him a question. Didn't I tell you not to interrupt? This show's an absolute whiz-banger. It's terrific. I watch it every day. I watch all of them every day, even the crummy ones, where there's no shooting. I like gangsters the best. They're terrific, those gangsters. Especially when they start pumping each other full of lead or flashing the old stilettos or giving each other the 1, 2, 3 with their knuckle dusters. Oh boy, what I wouldn't give to be doing that myself. It's the life. It's terrific, I tell you. That's quite enough, snapped Grandma Josephine. I can't bear to listen to this. Nor me, said Grandma Georgina. Do all children behave like this nowadays? Like these brats we've been hearing about? Of course not, said Mr. Bucket, smiling at the old lady in the bed. Some do, of course. In fact, quite a lot of them, but not all. And now there's only one ticket left, said Grandpa George. Quite so, sniffed Grandma Georgina. Just as sure as I'll be having cabbage soup for supper tomorrow, that ticket will go to some nasty little beast who does not deserve it. That's the end of chapter 8, and we're done for today. I'll see you back here tomorrow for chapter 9. Bye.